Just playing some stuff I got off the sale. I'm probably gonna go to bed soon. I just feel like playing for a little bit. Trash gear, man. I don't like how the dash is not invincible. I have this game on the Switch. The thing I don't like about it. The dash feels like kind of useless because it doesn't have any iframes. Nothing but trash gear too. See anything here? Oh, wow. No monies. Got nothing. Probably need, like, higher quality items or something. What's this? Oh, what's that? I don't get why the fuck the dodge is not invincible. I would like this game a lot more if the dodge was invincible. I mean, it's a fun game, it's well made, but why do I have to grind to get the dodge to be invincible? And they have like a hard level cap too, which is stupid. You have to get all the way over here to get invincibility on the dodge. If there was a mod that did that, I think I would like that game a lot more. The dash feels kind of pointless because you just run straight into an enemy and you die because there's no invincibility frames. I don't know why it's designed like that. It feels artificial. It's already a really hard game to control. They could at least make the dodge invincible so that you have a little bit of margin of error, but you really don't. There's also some dumb enemies in that game too, like the dogs. The dogs have like no animation for their attack. They just, your health bar just goes down. It feels really janky. I've been playing that for a while on Switch, off camera, but I'm not any good at it, so I don't record myself playing. I think I might just need to grind more. I know that the legendary items make the game a lot better, but at the beginning you have junk. But yeah, not having an invincible dodge is what really pisses me off about that game. It feels out of place. You don't have any defensive options whatsoever. You just kind of, all you can do is attack and jump. If there was a mod to just add that, I would probably like that game a lot. I don't hate the game, but it feels like you don't give you much to work with. I know there is a mod for it. I mean, it's not something I'm going to be playing for the channel. It's just casual fun. Yeah, there's nothing to just make it so that you have an invincible dodge. Doesn't seem like a game got much of a modding community. Which is weird. I know that's one of the more popular roguelikes on Steam. that screen shake is really bothering me. That game is cool too. The problem with that game is it's a really bad PC port. You can't change any options, you can't change the controls, and you can't turn off the screen shake. Screen shake really fucks with my eyes. It's unfortunate. It's like indie games are getting better about that stuff. Like letting you turn off screen shake, things that, you know, prevent people from playing. You can't even change the controls in that game. Like, come on now. Dude, I was changing controls in Nintendo games like 30 years ago. How do you not have a control feature? I had to spend like half an hour changing the controls in that game because the mappings are all messed up, and then the game keeps barking orders at you to do keyboard keyboard commands for the moves and stuff, and it's like, well, what button is that on the controller? It's like missing basic functionality. And apparently it's out of early access. I'm like, well, you look on the forums and there's not really any complaints about the game. The game itself is fine. It's just, if you make a PC port, you expect like basic things like being able to change the controls. I mean, there's people that can't play with a controller, or they can't play with the keyboard and mouse, or vice versa. You kind of need to accommodate most people. That's one of the things that's good about PC ports is there's other ways to play. I mean, thanks to Steam, I was able to get that game working, but I shouldn't have had to spend half an hour to fix the controls. That should be like one of the first things you do. It's a shame, really. I'll have to make a video for that game, but it's kind of a buzzkill playing because of the massive amounts of screen shake and there's no options. It feels like they just took it from mobile and they just put it on PC and they didn't bother to do anything that you would expect. It's like the game itself works fine. It's not even like modern standards. I mean, you could do that shit in games like 35 years ago. You gotta draw the line somewhere with what you're gonna accept. I might hook up my Switch. I think I might play some Crimson Clover. That sounds like a way to tire myself out and get good sleep tonight. I'm just seeing if there's anything else I want to play. It's a shame Kamen Rider didn't have much replay value. I mean, the game itself was fun, but I don't know, the new difficulty is not any harder at all. And the campaign is just a drag to play through. It's like one of the worst character action games campaigns I've played through. It's not that it really has much gimmicks. It has those on rail sections, but those are like a minute each. I mean, they suck, but they're over pretty quickly. It's just the campaign is just not much fighting. You spend a lot of time just running around in literal nothing, and they didn't bother to add any new stuff to play. There's like no loot or anything. It's kind of weird how like just beating the game and then spending like 20 minutes to finish the survival mode, which is not hard at all, and you get the best stuff in the game, and there's not really much else to unlock. The progression is kind of weird. It's mostly just like stats and stuff. I feel like if that game had like more interesting character builds and stuff that you could make, I think it would have been more fun. Have you ever canceled an order on PlayAsia before if the order ships? How long does it take to get a refund? That's a good question. just kind of a pain to order from. I've been dealing business with them for years. It's just kind of like it's always been the major problem has always been that they're in another country. They're in Hong Kong, so shipping prices are already through the roof, and then you have the pandemic going on, and certain countries don't want to ship to America, or it's like way more expensive and stuff. Apparently, I would suggest just canceling it and just getting it digital. It only costs it costs like just as much as a AAA game here in America. That's about all that game's worth. I argue it's not even really worth that. It's good for one playthrough and then messing around in the survival mode, but the campaign's a real nightmare to get through. It's really boring. It overstays its welcome, and you spend a lot of time just not fighting. The game doesn't really have any dumb puzzles or anything. The only thing that's really offensive is just those shitty auto scrollers, which the controls aren't very good. Yeah, they're not really deep fights. You just kind of hold the button down and they die. But the pacing is really bad. I wanted to play through the game again, but then I realized like probably 70% of it would be running around and not fighting. I find it weird that they like when you beat the game once and you go into the new game plus, they time you on the completion times for your fights. So I'd be curious, like when you get to the end, it would probably be like maybe 2 to 3 hours of fighting, and then the rest would be just running around. I feel like they got a little overambitious in that game, but not in the right way. It's like they could have made the game shorter and have less padding, but pack more fights in there so that it would actually be fun to play. But it's way too long, and a lot of it is just nothing. There's not even really much platforming in that game, which is weird because a decent amount of the forms have an air dash and stuff. They could have done something interesting with that, but for the most part, it really just is point A to point B. I would still recommend the game. I think it's pretty progressive for a Kamen Rider game for them to try something new, and I'd say for the most part they nailed it. It's just they really didn't think about the replay value. I mean, you get stuff that makes you literally invincible just for beating the survival mode, which takes like all of half an hour for all modes if you do it first try. So it's like, why would I want to play through the game again? If it was like a 3 hour game instead of an 8 hour game, I think they could have had something there and add more interesting loot, but it feels like they just ran out of development time. They're like, oh, we're just going to let you break the game with the minimal effort possible, so realistically, you have no reason to keep playing. I don't know if they're doing DLC for that game or not. I feel like even that wouldn't really work because the way that game works, the characters that only have one form, they're very one-dimensional to play because they have like 4 or 5 moves. And the whole thing they put a ton of work into in that game is the whole form change system. So when you play as characters with just one form, they're very boring. They're nowhere near the depth of any modern character action game character. At least a protagonist. They don't even feel as good as like side characters like DMC3 Virgil, who was just kind of like, let's just dump all the moves he used as a boss. Let's just map them to buttons and make him a playable character. But that still worked somehow. It's like I don't really think they could sell DLC for single form characters. They would have to put a lot more effort into them. They're fun to play for a few minutes, but then they get really boring because the core gameplay mechanic is no longer there, which is the form changing. I mean, for what it's worth, that game has a lot of unlockables, but it's just the game is too easy to break. They they make it piss easy to break, and you have like no reason to keep playing. It doesn't seem like there's much interest in it either. I mean, I put out those videos about as fast as possible. I beat it the day after it came out, and there's just like that, not that much interest, which is a shame because it's in full English and it's on two platforms instead of just one. Yeah, I would recommend just getting it digital. I don't really think it's going to be much of a collector's item. I got Bat Ride War 2 for like, I think it was like $30 after shipping, like a year after it came out. I ordered it off Amazon. Someone had an import copy. That was about all that game was worth. That game was fun in its own right, but being a PS3 game really held it back. The load times were abysmal. I don't know how I finished that game in retrospect. It was like 70% loading. I think Memory of Heroes, if they continue with that formula and they refine it more, I think it could be really cool. It definitely feels like they were told to pad out that game though, because it really is. I think out of like the 8 hours I was playing it, maybe like half of that, or even less, was actually doing something besides running around. Which is weird because it's not an open world game. It's objectively linear, but they have too much stuff in there. It's like playing a Tales game. Like Tales games on New Game Plus are pretty much just running to the next fight. But at least there you have character builds and there's still things that you can get. But in Memory of Heroes, they just give you everything right away. I don't think I've ever played a game like that that's that easy to break. Like just beat the game once and then play for an extra half hour and you're invincible. They usually respond to support pretty quickly. I feel like Play Asia has lost a lot of its relevancy now that everything is region free. There's not much reason to buy from there anymore. You're paying a lot more and you're waiting a lot longer because they're in another country. And then now you have the pandemic going on, making it take even longer to get stuff. I really only use them for their codes.
Welcome, Agent Romanoff.
There used to be cheaper places to get codes too, but they all started getting increasingly shady. Yeah, it wasn't really worth using anymore. I think they know that too. There's probably not many people ordering stuff off there unless they're like collectors. They absolutely have to have something physical. Otherwise, I don't see the point in buying stuff from them. Back when stuff wasn't region free digital, they had more relevancy, but now it's just kind of like, is it really worth it?
Where'd the commander even get this?
Avenger.
Looks like it came with the place. Tracking the signal now.
It's better to just take the 20-30% markup and just buy the game online. Boy, they haven't added anything to this, huh? There's like nothing going on in this game. I feel bad for the developers. Apparently, like, they can't work in the office. They said stuff like just motion capturing stuff. It takes like way longer. A lot of the developers have had to like move out of their houses and stuff because of the fires. It's a shame, really. I really think they should have delayed that game. It's funny that I think they put it out. I think they put it out when they did because they wanted to avoid Cyberpunk, and that game keeps getting delayed indefinitely. Like they probably could have waited and had more time to actually polish and take the feedback from the beta, which they stupidly gave themselves no time to do. What's the point of a beta if people are giving you feedback and the game goes gold in like 2 weeks? There is no point really. It just made them look worse because made it feel like they were ignoring the feedback when it's like they weren't ignoring the feedback. It's just that there was no time. I got my money's worth out of that game. If it dies, I mean, it's pretty much already dead on PC. I don't really care. I feel like people get a little bit too invested in service games. It's like if you're bored playing it, then just play something else. There's thousands of games out there, and usually at any given time there's at least a couple dozen worth playing, depending on what you like. I don't see the point in getting all pissed off with the developers. At least the game is less frustrating to play now than it was, but I hear people saying they're still losing their saves. I'm like, how the hell is that still happening after like 5 patches in 2 months? Yeah, the guy making that is, he's working on another game. Yeah, I sent in a key request for that, but I haven't heard back. A couple people have had it early for like a couple weeks now. The Switch port actually looks quite good. I'm debating if I want to get it on there. Generally with like review keys I would have had it by now, so I'm thinking they I don't meet their criteria. Which is fine, I'm just gonna buy the game anyway. I'm not really too worried about it. The Switch port looks surprisingly functional. I did see some frame drops, but like not Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. It seems like it's actually playable. It's one of the hardest rooms in the game. I can't tell you how many games I've wanted to buy on the Switch, but I can't find footage of it. Those channels that just like play Switch games, like raw footage, those are way more useful than you think. They're quite successful too. It's like normally in today's YouTube climate, you need to have like some kind of personality and use a mic and stuff to get people to watch. Most people aren't going to watch raw gameplay. It's like they will, but it's really hard to make a name for yourself off raw gameplay. It helps to have some kind of personality, but like the Switch has so many awful ports, even like just random pixel art indie games like don't run. those channels actually make a decent amount of money, and they like don't have to do a lot of what other gaming channels have to do to stick out. There's no need for like a personality or any kind of gimmick or anything really. It's just be the guinea pig and buy the game and tell us how bad it is. Good or bad, I should say. Which I think is cool. There's a lot of fake content creators on here that are not who they say they are. You can still make videos like the old days on YouTube, and you can still be successful, especially with like Switch ports and stuff. Nobody wants to buy a piece of crap on console, because unlike Steam, there's no consumer protection like refunds and stuff. People want to make educated purchases and not just buy stuff blindly. That's asking for trouble. Nintendo and Sony are really anal about giving refunds. They pretty much only do it if the game is like known to be broken. I think they gave out some for Avengers actually. I think that's one of the few games they gave refunds for with a little effort. It's very rare for that to happen though. The game has to be like barely functional. Otherwise they give you a bunch of bullshit if you try to refund it. Yeah, I'm playing really bad right now tonight. I'm not warmed up. Get no damage like any of these bosses, but I just can't tonight. Yeah, the rider kick's hard to perfect dodge. Yeah, I haven't played this for a few days. Damn it. The thing that really bothers me about this game is that it doesn't show you your ranking when you play with tag mode, which, bless the guy who made this game, that makes no damn sense at all. Like, it's harder to play with tag mode because there's like almost no other character action game, at least without mods. I'm talking about the base intended gameplay experience and design. There are very few character action games that let you play with two full-fledged characters with large movesets. Why the hell does putting tag mode on remove your ranking? I don't understand why he did that. It makes no sense. It actually takes a lot of practice to play as two characters. You have to be pretty decently skilled with them both, and you have to do a lot of improv in this game as well, because there are very few melee enemies. Almost all the enemies are ranged, it's just that they give you broken-ass abilities that allow you to deal with it. So, you know, labbing out a 5-minute long infinite HP combo won't really help you in this game. I would argue it doesn't really help in games like DMC either. I mean, it does help with your execution, but, you know, the enemy will be dead like 20 seconds into it, and you're probably going to get hit at some point. That's kind of what I like about this game. It's not really a lab game. You can lab if you want, but I got good at this game just by playing it. You know, if you can kill an enemy in like one combo, then that's more than good enough. And just knowing when to cancel or do something that makes you, you know, makes you invincible, or at least prevents bullets from hitting you, deflects them. I was talking to you about this earlier, but I think like people get the wrong idea about character action games because they watch those combo videos where the enemy has infinite health and they're doing like this 5-minute long combo with no macros. It's like, yeah, you don't really need to do that. It's cool that those things are possible, but if you just want to have fun, there's plenty of ways to be stylish without putting that much time into the game. It's a blessing and a curse, really, but I feel like the DMC community would rather shitpost dumb memes instead of actually playing anyway, so... I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just like fighting game combos, you know? People that find the really optimal stuff don't even, like, play in tournaments. People that find the cool Tekken stuff, like, probably will not place in the tournament, or they don't even care to enter. It's mostly just they're really creative and they find stuff, and then the people that do compete use it. But in a character action game, it's like, there just comes a point where you need to just accept that you're not going to be able to do that stuff, and you don't really need to. I play these games pretty practical. Obviously, you see what I'm doing. I'm still plenty stylish, but I don't do, like... I don't do the infinite HP flex stuff. I'm more than capable of doing it. It's just not interesting to me. The enemies in this game have the right amount of health that you can be stylish and not need to lab for 40 trillion hours. Got the guard. This mode in particular is way better because it seems like he reduced their guard bar across the board. This last time I played through Extreme was like a few months ago. I streamed most of my progress on there, and I got really burnt out by this point. The health wasn't the problem, it was the guard bar was way too long. They had way too many guard points. Made things really exhausting. It feels like it's in a good spot now. I'm not getting anywhere near as frustrated. It feels pretty smooth. I'm not playing too hot right now, but they don't have like a ridiculous amount of guard bar anymore. And you can't take anything in this game either. It's like all Strider style health. The problem I had with it is moves that were intended to do a lot of guard damage were suddenly useless because you're not invincible after them. You can actually get hit after them, so you would use your big move, try to get some crowd control, and it would end up just getting you killed. Just removing a lot of their guard points, their guard bar, really helped. That's all this mode really needed. Plenty fair. guys see the Beowulf clip for Virgil and how it was on some random stream that nobody knew about with some comedian mashing the triangle button? Now, I don't want to sound like elitist, you know, they don't need to have like somebody with 50 billion hours into the game to market their stuff, but why didn't you do that like weeks ago? The game is out in literally a week. And they've shown like nothing. And keep in mind, back when 4's Special Edition came out, they actually got Brea. I don't know if they got her to the headquarters or it was like some event. I think it was actually a con of some sort, some kind of physical event. They got her to come out and do the showcase. Now I understand we're in the middle of a pandemic, so doing that kind of thing is not feasible. And it's a lot harder, even just not considering that, when you have like scheduling and stuff. Japan is a small country, but you know, people may not be available. But like, what the hell are they doing with the marketing? I feel like the only reason that game exists is because Sony realized at the beginning of the pandemic that they have like no games. They don't have a good launch variety. They have a good launch lineup. I mean, Demon's Souls is a system seller for most people. Obviously not for me, but a lot of people are really excited about that. That's a really popular game. And you have Spider-Man, but like, that's it. I think they realized they wanted something more. As far as you know, they had no interest in supporting DMC5 any longer. Obviously they were lying, but I think it was a relatively recent development, probably back in like February or January or something when all this started. It's like, no one cares about the ray tracing. Yes, the load times will help. DMC5 has notoriously long load times, even on an SSD. The only reason anyone wants it is Virgil and LDK mode. Mostly Virgil. So, why are they being so secretive about the one main reason why you would want it in the first place? I don't get it. My theory is they're being, like, held back on it because I know there's that video circulating of some guy who got the PS4 and Spider-Man early, and he showed getting into gameplay in like 15 seconds or whatever, and they took it down. It's like, why do you want to take that down? I think that would be a pretty high selling point. The worst thing about the generation we're currently in is awful performance and load times. But that video keeps getting taken down. Like, what? It's not like he's showing an ending cutscene or something. He's just showing the game loading in a respectable amount of time, which we don't have right now. That has no relevance at all. Yes, they probably will put some kind of tie-in in there, like they did with 4 Special Edition, where they show that female NPC looking at him, which basically was their way of saying that he was Nero's father. That has nothing to do with the moveset. The moveset and the story are like completely separated. And like I said, they're taking down a video of a guy just showing how fast Spider-Man loads. Like, what the hell is wrong with that? That guy has done better marketing than they have, really. I know, it's oddly secretive, which is weird because it's out in like 9 days. Both DMC5 Special Edition and the consoles itself. I don't understand it. People are like impressed with that Spider-Man video. And you could tell it was not edited or doctored in any way. The guy was just had it on his desk like a normal person. That fight was stupid before. They had like... Felt like they had like 3 times their health bar and guard bar. Just like wail on them forever and they would... Really hard to get behind them. Yeah, I think this generation is going to be good for everybody. PS4, don't get me wrong, as much as I hate it, it has a lot of really great games. I think the variety of games we've had, like in terms of genres and stuff, like everything, pretty much every genre you can think of had like really good games, even super niche stuff like, you know, visual novels and things. There's like so many awesome games this generation, but the hardware really held it back. You know, Monster Hunter is a good example. That's a really great game. Not something I enjoy, but it's a really good game. One of the best games this generation, but it runs like shit on the PS4, and it takes forever to load. It'll be interesting to see how much game design actually changes. Because masking load times has been a thing for like, since the PS2 era. Everything from like how fast the character can run and how big the areas are and stuff is all dictated by slow load times. They might get a lot less padding this generation. I think that's going to be pretty cool. I'm sure there will still be tons of it. Kind of like that Kamen Rider game. There's a fuck ton of padding, but there will be less of a technical necessity to do so. I think the first time I encountered load time masking was Metroid Prime. The way that game works is it loads only like 1 or 2 rooms at a time, and the larger the room, the longer the door will take to open. That's how that game is like perfect 60 FPS performance and such good graphics, because it only has like 1 room in memory at a time. Load time masking has been around way longer than people think. It's just it didn't used to be as intrusive as it is now, where things take like forever, or they'll give you a long corridor or a forced walking section, like the Final Fantasy VII Remake, because the console can't handle streaming the assets quick enough. It's like, I know some of the forced walking sections in that game are to give the characters more development and stuff, but a lot of it really is just because PS4 sucks. You can't load that much stuff at a time. This game is a fucking masterpiece. That was pretty clean. I did get hit there at the end, though. Nice. the hell's wrong with him? He's invincible. What happened there? I was actually playing quite well, but that was weird. It's just random jank is just something you accept with this game. Sometimes weird shit like that happens, and there's like no reason for it. It won't ever happen again. Like that video I did last week where the HUD disappeared. It's just like randomly. I like that fight though. It's really fun with Amelia because you parry 3 times. You parry his judgment cut 3 times, and then you counter, and you get like half your meter back. It's a really fun fight once you learn how to parry. He can't touch you. I'm gonna save this for a video. Go through that later. So I think I'll do my raids on KOF. And I think that'll be it for tonight. Yeah, I heard that Ghost of Tsushima game has surprisingly good optimization. I think the deal breaker for me with the PS4 was Gundam Breaker 3. Let's just make this super fast-paced, you know, character action game with customization. There's like so few games like that. But then the game runs at like 20 FPS, so how fast the characters can move and then the awful frame rate, they don't mix. I tried playing Kingdom Hearts 3 as well. That game was on sale for like $15 last year. Frame rate was really bad. Inconsistent.
Ready, go!
What?
This is stupid. I hate permanent hyper armor bosses like this. They're just dumb. It's not even hard, it's just annoying because you can't, like, defend yourself.
I'm over.
Hey, number 1. Cool. I can't get another one. Let's see, did any more DMC news come out from random comedians? What's next? Are they gonna have like a cat showing off the Force Edge or something? I wouldn't put it past them at this point. Like the DMC5 info Twitter account is the only reason anybody knows about that footage because it was like not announced at all. I'll never understand this version of the game's marketing. It's weird because they showed like Dante's full moveset before the game came out, the vanilla game. It had Itsuno himself doing it, and then like yeah, we're in a pandemic since then, but I don't think it would be that difficult to have somebody in house just play for like 10 minutes. It's weird. I had so much bad PR because Virgil looked like he was the modded version with like two new moves. Then it turns out he's actually got a lot of stuff for a $5 character, but they let the public perception get out of hand, and for good reason. I don't think people would have been very happy if it was just DMC3 style Virgil, where it's just like the old moves, just from the boss fights, just repurposed. I don't know. It's a really awkward situation. I might be able to get a PS5 and DMC5 Special Edition, but financially it would be tight for me. Also, I don't know what the availability is going to be like around here. There are a lot of gamers here. They're just like not. They're not niche gamers, which arguably means that there will be less of them around because there's not really much else on the PS5 at launch. I think what's most exciting about it personally is just the presumable end of shitty performance and abysmal load times, and really good backwards compatibility. That's what's mostly interesting about it to me. And DMC5 Special Edition is cool and all, but it's obviously not really like a system seller. That's really the only thing they have on there that I'd play for the most part. I hear Spider-Man is actually quite good, but I don't know anything about that game. I don't think they really intend for DMC5 Special Edition to be a killer app. I think they just wanted something to balance out their lineup a little bit more. As much as they love Souls games, they're still niche. They're like on the cusp of being mainstream, but they're still niche games just by how frustrating they are by nature. A lot of hardcore gamers are really interested in that. That's a system seller for a lot of people for sure, but the average person doesn't want to play something where you die every 5 seconds and your character sucks at everything. It's a very acquired taste to play that kind of game, so I think that's like realistically the only reason why DMC5 Special Edition exists. They realize they basically only have like two games for it. They have Demon's Souls and Spider-Man. Spider-Man is definitely a more mainstream appeal game than Demon's Souls is, but I mean, to get people to go out and buy one, I don't think Demon's Souls is going to sell as many copies as people think. When people don't think outside of their bubbles, in terms of gaming. Like, yes, in the hardcore gamer community, Demon Souls being remade is huge, but the average person just playing casually is not going to have any interest in that game. No, I strongly believe that that is why DMC5 SE exists. That's the only reason. Because they didn't want a repeat of the N64 launch, where there were literally two games, and only one people cared about. No one cared about Pilot Wings. I don't think I ever played Pilot Wings. I had an N64 at launch when I was a kid. Everybody just bought Mario, and Mario came with it, if I remember correctly. So, you had two games to choose from. If you didn't like platformers and you didn't like flight sims, then you were SOL for a while. I feel like gaming companies try to avoid launches like the N64, where it's like you have one really good game, and then one game that's not bad, but the average person is not interested in, and that's it. You kind of need to fire at all bases with game launches these days, console launches. Your brother managed to snag one, yeah. There's a chance that I could get one if I got a couple donations and I sold my GPU, my old CPU. I upgraded my PC back in like July. I checked it, it goes for like $120. That would be like one down payment on it right there, and then I could pay the rest out of pocket. GameStop is allowing you to pay in installments. That's the only reason I'm even humoring the idea of getting one, because I don't make much money running this channel, and that would be the way that I could do it. But I don't know. Availability seems like a mess right now. I think they did a good job selling it, though. It's just the marketing itself has been bad. Why the hell is somebody just showing the Spider-Man loading up quickly? He's not showing any plot spoilers or anything. It's not like those people that were leaking the ending to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yeah, I can see why that needs to be taken down, but the guy's just like showing, hey, I got this early legitimately, supposedly anyway, and it loads really damn fast. Why is that? Why are they deleting that? I'd like to believe that video just drove up demand even more, because of how many games on current gen take like 20 years to load. I don't think a pre-order is going to happen at this point. I think it's mostly just going to be like places in your area will just have one, and you just have to get lucky. And I don't really think it's worth waiting in line for, honestly. The only thing and reason I'm even humoring it is because if I manage to sell my CPU, which I need to work on that tomorrow, and then combined with my ad revenue, I could pay off like half of it right there, and then probably just do like a donation drive to cover another payment, and then I'd be good for a month. And then at that point, I would just pay the rest out of my pocket, unless some Oil Prince donates or something. That's the only reason for me. GameStop is doing a thing called QuadPay, because GameStop was in the hole before the pandemic happened. Digital sales and stuff have really killed physical sales for most people, especially since on the PS4 they require you to install the games. You know, last gen, when you bought something physical, I felt like you had more of a benefit for it because you could save hard drive space, and the last gen consoles had like barely any storage space at all. But with the PS4, it's like you still have to install it on there because the Blu-ray drive in there is too slow to actually play the games off it. All I can really do is play movies and just basically it rips the disc. So they're really struggling right now. So they're allowing you to pay for anything in their store in 4 installments. They're basically banking on the new consoles to keep them in business. The pandemic has just hurt them even more, but yeah, it was a problem long before that started. Actually, I find myself shopping there now more than I did before because a lot of the niche games I play that I buy for the channel, they have them dirt cheap for like nothing. Pirate Warriors 4 for the Switch, I did a port review of that. That was like 30 bucks. I have a massive collection of physical Switch games because they keep giving them away for like under $30. So yeah, that's the plan. If I did manage to secure a PS5, I would effectively pay for half of it now and then probably do donation drives over the next month and try to just get as much of the payments done as I can, but it's less dependent on you guys, it's more dependent on if I could find one. Because there's a lot of PS4 games I would like to play, but the performance and the load time is just I couldn't manage. Yeah, the Switch Pro is pretty much a given. I'm undecided if I want to trade up my current Switch to the new one or just buy it full price and then hack my old one for emulation. That's what a lot of people are doing with their Vitas right now. So they're hacking them because the Vita is a relatively good emulation machine. It can't go any farther than the PS1, but there's a lot of homebrew stuff on there. But the Switch is like even better. The Switch is like 4 times more powerful than the Vita. You also get the benefit of overclocking. Overclocking can really improve the performance on some games. I know you can get Bloodstained running at a relatively stable 60 FPS if you overclock. I'm unsure what I'll do. I would like to have a hack Switch just for stuff like that, just for emulation. Because what's nice about the Switch for like emulation is it's small, but you can also use wireless controllers and sticks on it and stuff. So when I'm able to travel again, when all this crap ends, then that would be nice to have. At the same time, I could probably sell the one I have because the one that I have, I know that it's one of the first models. The first model has a hardware like vulnerability in it that allows it to be hacked, and the firmware updates can't do anything to it. The version 2 models and the ones that came slightly before that, I believe, you have to do some other more complicated method. So I could probably sell mine for quite a bit. Obviously not right now. I would not do that for the PS5. There's still a lot of games I like on the Switch, but yeah, there's a number of ways I could go about doing that. I'm just not sure which yet. Yeah, the Switch Pro needs to happen. The Switch is as somebody, one of the few people who had a Vita, it reminds me a lot of, it's like the Vita 2 in a lot of ways. Everything from like the games that appear on it, and it's mostly indie games. So if you like smaller niche indie games like I do, there's a lot to offer on there, but it also has the problem the Vita has of monkey's paw port wishes. Like people want like, I want Skyrim on the Switch. I want Spider-Man on the Switch. I want like Dragon's Dogma and like all these big PS4 games on the Switch. It's like, that you can get them on there, but they're going to run like garbage and look more grainy than your oatmeal that you eat in the morning. It's like, yes, it can run it, but it runs it like a garbage and it's barely playable. It's a combination of people begging for the ports and then the developers actually making them, and then like the developers just wanting the money from re-releasing an old game on a new platform when it barely runs. It's a pretty shitty situation, actually. I would love to have like Assault Spy on the Switch and like DMC5 and Onichan-Bara and a lot of the other games I play on PC, but realistically, I know the Switch can't run them, so it's like, yeah, they could put it on there, but it would barely function. I mean, depending on the game, you can get by. I know that people like Dragon Quest XI on there because that's a turn-based JRPG. You know, the frame rate and the resolution doesn't matter that much. The game still worked. Still a great game to go through. But it's when you start putting like Twitch-based action games on there and it runs at like 20 FPS. That's why people are so pissed off at Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. It's kind of weird to have like a just dodge mechanic which requires like pretty precise inputs and then the game runs at like sub 30 FPS. The current rumor is that it's supposed to come out in March. That's why Monster Hunter is coming out in March. I think they plan for that, and then like Breath of the Wild 2 to be the main things to get people to go out and buy another Switch. I see a lot of people saying it's coming too soon. It's like, well, it's been 4 years. It'll have been 4 years by that point because it came out in the first quarter of 2017. So it's been almost 4 years already. That's more than good enough for a mid-gen refresh. The issue is how much of a refresh is it going to be? Is it going to be like the new 3DS and stuff, where it's like they only had a handful of games that couldn't run on the regular DS? Or is it going to be like an actual full refresh? I really don't think they can go on much longer with the Switch the way it is right now. It's like, yes, it can run most indie games pretty well if they get a good porting studio to do it, but PS4 ports are going to dry up. Nobody is really going to want to downgrade a next gen game down to the point where a Switch can run it. It would take way too much effort to do that, and it probably would not sell very well. So I think that the next Switch is actually going to be a major upgrade. I don't think it's going to be a mid-gen refresh. Mid-gen refreshes are a relatively new thing in terms of ones that are actually more powerful. You know, the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Advance SP, the main thing was the fact that it was backlit, which was huge because I had the original Game Boy Advance, and you couldn't see that thing outside of like artificial light. You couldn't play with it outside. You had to be indoors with ample lighting to play that thing. Like I don't really consider that to be a mid-gen refresh. It's like yes, it was, but not in terms of performance. It was more the physical factor of it, being able to clamshell it and then having the backlight, which was huge enough. I think if you liked the Game Boy Advance, that was worth buying because the functionality was way better. But mid-gen refreshes are a relatively new thing in terms of actually improving the performance of something and not just being like smaller form factor or lower price or something. It would have to be officially backed because that guy was playing it. You can't get a PS5 right now for starters, unless you have some kind of crazy connection, like you know somebody that works at a provider. Really weird ass marketing. I'm not gonna continue to try to understand it. Hyrule Warriors for me, I will probably emulate that game. I'll buy it legally, but I will probably emulate it if Yuzu runs it at 60 FPS. I don't see any reason to make myself sick playing that game. I know a lot of people just expect me to play it because it's a Musou game, and I do almost every Musou game. There's definitely some that I've backed out on, but I generally play every Musou game. I don't know, that demo was making me physically sick. My stomach was churning. I actually felt like I was going to puke. If I didn't take my meds, I probably would have. I don't know if I want to subject myself to that. It's far more likely that I'll just play it on the big screen in like very minimal amounts of time, and then I'll play it in portable mode at my neighbor's house and stuff when I'm over there babysitting the cats. And then like maybe for videos I'll just play it. I'll just play it on the emulator. That seems like the best plan, but it all depends on if they manage to uncap the frame rate, which they have done. I know Astral Chain on the emulator runs at 60 FPS. Someone made a patch for it. I know Monster Hunter does as well, which is pretty huge. If you like Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, that seems like the best way to play that game, actually. I'm kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with that. So I know right now the only real benefit from it is that it runs at a stable 30, but I'm not going to go through all the trouble of setting up an emulator just to play it at the same frame rate that the Switch version should be running at. Also for me, I know Hyrule Warriors is going to be, a lot of the big clickbait channels are going to be playing that because it's a first-party Nintendo game. So I think for someone like me, it would be kind of like how the Kamen Rider game was. It's like, I'll definitely have some people watching, but there's not going to be that many. I would have to make some kind of crazy guide to really stick out. And I don't know if I'll like the game enough. Right now, I think the game is fun to play. I definitely have been playing the demo quite a bit off camera, but I don't know if I want to drop $60 on it and get sick playing it and then not really get a return of investment. We'll see. Actually, let me look that up right now. I wonder if they have like a patch for the demo. If they had a patch for the demo, then presumably the full version would have it too. Let's filter it out to this week. Somebody's got it running at 8K. I don't care about that. Uncap the frame rate. I don't care about running it at 4K. That's overkill. Yeah, I don't know when the next episode of that comedian guy playing is supposed to be. Okay, I think the next one is supposed to be on the 8th. That's what it's saying here. So it's probably going to be that guy button mashing again. And they'll show like way more gameplay. Get hype, I guess. This is gonna be the last game for tonight. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm terrible at this game. Nothing good here. I think that's gonna do it for me. I'm actually getting pretty tired. I was gonna play some Crimson Clover, but combination of my my stress and anxiety and daylight savings time is telling me I should just go to bed. In terms of later today, I need to do a little bit more stuff on KOF, and then I'll probably just play some of those games I got. I got Children of Morta DLC, and I got Dungreed and Crimson Clover. That's probably what I'm going to be playing. I could do farming on the demo for Hyrule Warriors. I know a lot of people are doing that, but I'm still on the fence if I'm going to buy it. Mechanically, the game is fun, but I don't know. Feeling sick to my stomach playing it is not something I'm really up to doing. Squillo doesn't seem affected by garbage frame rates, and he's going to be putting out a lot of good guides, so I don't feel like I have to make all the guides. Normally with Muso games, I feel like I have to because others won't, but there's going to be a lot of demand for that game. I don't think anything I put out for that game is going to be relatively successful, just because the big channels, even though a lot of them probably won't be good at the game, they're going to get all the views anyway. They're going to appear first in the search results. Someone like me would realistically be at the bottom. I'm on the fence about it. I've definitely been watching the emulation scene to see if they uncap it. If they do, then I'll buy it. I'll buy it and then I'll emulate it. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do with emulation anyway. There's supposed to be backups of games you legally own, and that would be best for me. That way I could still play it, and when I play it for the channel, I will not have to worry about puking. So I'm not about to puke over a Muso game. I love Muso games, to get me wrong, but I'm not into throwing up over them. I'm not that much of a fanatic, so that's likely what's going to happen with that. I did apply for a key for Sukuna. I emailed them. I haven't heard back. I might have that tomorrow too. I know that there's a partial, like, pretty lax embargo on that. I think you can't show past the first hour. I hope that I get that. If not, I will be paying that off. So yeah, I will catch you guys later. There's a video about how weird the marketing for DMC5 is. It just went up on my channel 10 minutes ago. So you need something else to watch? There you go. I'll catch you guys later.